Good afternoon. You are tuned in to the B&H Event Space, where today, starting it off with the quest for wedding film mastery, part two. Of course, this is a series hosted by Sony, with the wonderful Amber and Garrett Baird. Today, we're discussing unveiling the tools, cameras, and lenses best suited for weddings. I feel like we should have like a Star Wars lead in. I feel like theme music or like the
Dun,
text
dun,
scrolling up the
dun,
screen.
dun.
I'm just not cutting it for this series. How's it going, guys?
The music might get flagged for copyright, so we don't. I
Of
guess
course you go
Yeah.
straight to the Imperial March.
right. That's my Dark Side Vader in me.
That's kinda would there be anything else that would be fitting for that? You guys got the
Uh,
mood going and
The
on my
light.
actual desk where I sit, it is literally like a temple to Lord Vader. I sit in the corner of my office, and there is just shelves everywhere of every kind of Darth Vader collectible you can imagine, from pencil toppers, erasers to 2-foot statues. It's just
No, you got a 4-foot one.
okay. I got
The battle buddy. But
he's playing it low key. Amber's like, "No."
he's trying to be low key, but I'm like, geez, we got so much Star Wars around here. A lot of just all the nerd stuff, but
We love it. We're always down to nerd out.
What,
yeah.
what
Like
do
I
they call
said, you
that? The new
guys
style of decorating? They call it
Dopamine
dopamine
decorating.
decorating. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
So it's just
Although,
like literally what makes you happy. What are you gonna look
okay.
at in your house, and what because like at one point in our life we didn't have all this in our this is our living room, and we kept trying to keep it all in the in the bed or in the office. Like, oh, we'll keep our nerds hidden.
It cannot be contained.
I
Life's too short.
We
I
are who we
can't
are.
I look,
What you
my
see is
wife
what you
doesn't
get.
understand it. I'm like, "You gotta light the like, I light the home like a movie set because 'cause I'm like,
Oh,
if it makes you feel good when you watch it, when you watch a movie and you're like, "Wow, the set design and the lighting are great."
yeah,
I wanna have the same effect every day, even when I'm just sitting here watching ID. So,
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
I've derailed us
That's
enough. I know
okay.
the people are here to see you guys and your expertise, so I'm gonna turn it over to you and remind all of our
Ew.
wonderful viewers, if you guys do have any questions, you know the drill. Drop them in the YouTube chat, and, Amber and Garrett will get to them afterwards for some Q&A, which is when I shall return. See you guys in a bit.
Thank you so much, Derek. We
Thanks,
really
Derek.
appreciate it. Thank you, B&H and Sony, for hosting this event space. I think I said it last time, but it has always been a dream of ours to bring wedding filmmaking education into a longer form. And so this 10-part series, we can really delve into some things that we don't usually do or can't get to whenever we're in-person seminars and things like that.
Yeah,
So
like we teach at WPPI, and I think the longest class we've ever had is an hour and a half. And there's just, I mean, with photography as well, but I feel there's so much with video, and there's so many different tools you can use and different techniques that I feel like an hour is just a disservice. So
yeah.
we get to break it up into 10 hours over the course of a few months. So that's
Yeah.
a lot of information here.
Yeah, we're really excited again. So, gear is one of Garrett's favorite things.
Hmm.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to go through, there it is. Okay, so we're going to go through our gear today. I'm so excited. This is one that everybody always, it always hides your keynote. There it is. Where's my play? Okay, so we're back in the quest for winning film mastery, unveiling the tools, cameras, lenses, and ancillary equipment, because there's a lot of equipment that we use for weddings that doesn't fall under those categories. So let's see here. Again, I'm Amber. I'm a filmmaker, producer, educator, cancer survivor, and your resident extrovert.
And she kind of keeps this, she's the glue that keeps me together for sure.
Well, I definitely just have to direct you. So we just point you in the right direction and go. So Garrett's Garrett is our main editor here. So we're both filmmakers. He's the main creative editor, educator, photographer. He is loving some photography lately, and he's our resident introvert. All right, so we got our treasure trove full of box. I kind of thought, okay, so what can I liken our case to? It's our treasure box. Our treasure box is
Oh,
full of goodies.
it's like your inventory treasure box.
Yeah.
Like you're playing
Yeah, that's what this is
yeah,
all about.
yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I like
clever
that.
or something, right? Okay, so we have the importance of choosing the right gear.
Well,
So
that's easy. I just all the gear. Just get it all.
that is not the case.
It's not.
A lot of the things that you have to think about whenever you're choosing the correct gear is the challenges of a wedding day. Did we both just go into like like a blackout.
Well, I was looking at your
The
screen.
challenges of a wedding day.
I was just making sure we're actually sharing the PowerPoint.
Yeah, we
Okay,
are.
cool. Yeah, there's a lot of challenges, and your gear needs to. Usually, when I'm buying a new piece of gear, there's two major criteria. I mean, there's a lot of other little things, but two major criterias, and that is, does it make my image better, and does it make my job easier? Those are two things that if it doesn't check, I wanted to check both those boxes, but I don't buy gear just because it's the latest and greatest. I buy it and purchase it because I want it to improve my storytelling and the way I film projects.
So, speaking of the challenges of a wedding day, one of the main ones is time, right? You're running like crazy.
That's the biggest antagonist in the
Time is your biggest enemy on a wedding day. And not only that, but so you're thrown into mixed or crazy lighting scenarios, low light scenarios. You are like here locally, like in the Midwest, which I know a lot of viewers are from the Midwest. Like we have to go to multiple locations. And so transporting our gear is also something that we definitely have to think about. Transporting it from, getting ready to church, to ceremony, to wherever we do the portrait session, because a lot of the times we go to it. So on some wedding days, we'll have 4 or 5 locations.
Right, and if you're working in Indianapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, you may be way outside of town to get ready at their house or something, and then maybe you go to have the first look downtown somewhere, so you got to drive down there, and then when you're down there, you got to go drive in someplace else to the church, and then when
So
you're
we
down
got
there,
a lot
drive-
of challenges.
Yeah, and then you have the whole photo session, so there's
Yeah.
a lot, and so being nimble and quick is paramount.
Yeah.
And I learned that the hard way. Of
So
course.
these are all, we've learned everything the hard way. So our requirements for gear is they have to be reliable, versatile, and high quality too. So not only do the two key aspects that Garrett always thinks about with his, whenever purchasing a new piece of gear for our kit, but they also have to have these 3 qualities too. These are just like the surface level ones, really.
Right.
But the most important,
Oh, you got my good side.
I sure did, it must fit in our bag.
Yeah. And that was a lesson.
We learned over a long course of time.
It was a painful lesson, and it's still painful because I think of a new thing, a new gadget, a new lens that maybe I have. I mean, everything we have fits into that bag you see there. Every piece of equipment, every camera, excluding our like our support equipment, like our
stabilizers and stuff.
Stabilizers, but from the gimbal down, everything fits in that bag. And there's a smaller like canvas bag next to it. That's for our tripods and monopods and whatnot.
So this bag is the Think Tank Airport Security version 2. They actually have version 3. They have fantastic bags. We've actually been waiting for this one to fail.
I know.
And it hasn't, and it still hasn't failed, and we've had it for probably 10 years at this point. I have no idea.
I think longer than that because it's been around the world.
It has been around the world.
Not around the world, but
No,
other
it
countries.
really has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is soft-sided. Everything fits in it perfectly, and
Now, I will say, if there's any room left when I go to zip it up, it means I forgot something because
but that's kind of part of our check
Very,
system,
yeah.
our check and balance, our check system for whenever we leave here or leave any of our sites. If there's like a hole in our bag, then there's something missing. So that bag looks small, but it can fit a ton in it.
And if you like Tetris, you'll love how I pack the bag
So,
because
yeah, so here's our
everything has its spot. This picture is a little older. We made a few adjustments since taking this picture.
Yeah. It's
like-
constantly evolving list.
Right. But most of this is very much the same. Our lighting has changed and the camera bodies, and we've I think this was the S2 when we shot with that. Now we're shooting with the A7S3 and the A1.
You need a new picture.
I do.
They just take you too long.
I know, because I want to make sure everything's perfectly square and straight.
It's because you just,
But yeah, everything you're seeing in that picture, believe it or not,
Yeah.
people want me to make a video, and I should, of me packing my case, because they're like, there's no way all of that fits in there, but I promise you it does. Yes, I may have to put a knee into it when I close it, but it all definitely fits in there. And what's really important to us is we're a team of 2. We have had some people come in on some really big weddings to help us, But what's really good with having everything fit in that one bag is that if Amber's still shooting the creative session or I'm still shooting the creative session, and we know that, okay, once we leave here, we're going right to the reception hall and we're gonna do the entrance and cake, bam, 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 immediately, real quick, 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 quick. That means one of us can go ahead and drive to the reception hall, and one person can carry everything, get in there, set up the lights, and get everything going, patch into the audio, and we're good to go while the other person is working. So you don't have to have all this stuff that you carry around and like, oh, I have to make 3 trips to my car. Well, that doesn't work if you have to, have your car valeted and you don't have access to it. So having everything in that one small package, it makes our life so much nicer because we're nimble, quick, and very versatile.
And not only that, but we do one of our commercial clients who we've done a lot of projects for. That's one of the reasons why they like having us on site, because it's a construction job site. And so it's all very like, time is of the essence every time.
Right.
They can't stop production for us to get a cool shot. So we have to work around them. And that honestly, in a lot of our commercial work has been a huge, it's been such a good thing for us to have honestly have a basis in weddings.
Right, and they're not working on houses, they're working on like power plants.
Yeah.
And these huge, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, so they have these massive cranes, and they can't, crane operators may be getting paid $100 or $200 an hour, and they can't stop and say, okay, Garrett and Amber, they want to do another take of that big beam coming over, can we redo it? No, they can't, because it costs them money. So by us being quick and nimble, it saves them money, and they appreciate that.
Not only that, but you get it in one take, right?
Yeah.
Weddings has taught us you have to get it in one take.
Yeah.
Like like the live event things.
Right, you don't have, you have less pressure at some of the more corporate stuff like she's talking about, but for weddings, like, you can't miss,
Yeah.
the big shots, you gotta be on point, and so our gear is really important.
Well, and not only that, but like you can miss just the emotions so quickly too. Like it will flash across their face so quickly. So in our treasure box, we're gonna get started here, and we're gonna go into our cameras. And then let's see. Okay, so with our
Grogu is also a third shooter for us.
yes,
sometimes
he is a third shooter for us. Currently, Garrett, right now, so we are using, what cameras are we using these days?
Our workhorse is the A7S III, and the reason why I love that camera, they just had a huge update for it not too long ago. I love, this is my A1, I use it a lot for photography, and I do use it on weddings as well. But the S3, one thing I can't live without, especially for weddings, is that optical viewfinder. I want to try out the FX30 and the FX3, but man, I use the viewfinder a lot, especially when I'm handheld. And so I'm sure if you've done video, you know this. If you hold your camera out here and just hold it and look at the back of the screen, with Sony's in-body stabilization, it's not bad, it's okay. But you're going to get a lot more stable and a more organic movement if you bring the camera up to your face and have a third point of contact.
That's when you're going handheld.
That's when I'm going handheld,
Yeah.
which happens a lot because sometimes there's something happening, or sometimes I go handheld in the grooms, when the groom's getting ready, because I don't like bringing in a gimbal or a monopod or tripod. I like feeling small, and it's not as intimidating for the groom, because the groom most of the time doesn't want to be filmed, or he's just doing it because it's what's expected of him, but he's not real thrilled about it. So if I'm just in the room like this, this is the 135, which I love. The 50 is what I spend most of the day on. I love the 50, and you're actually looking through it right now. That's why it's not on my camera, because it's on the S3 we have there on the tripod. But yeah, having that viewfinder, especially if you're outside and it's really bright, you can just pop it up and you have that extra point of contact, which makes your shots much more stable.
All right, so here's some of the criteria to think about whenever you are looking for a camera. Like, say you need to upgrade. What are you going to look into? So, of course, low light performance is something that the S3 excels in.
Oh yeah, that's what sold us with Sony back in the day with the original A7S. Is just back then
10 years ago
we didn't bring lighting. So the cake and the dance floor, sometimes there's always like the dance floor is all lit up nice, but the cake's like over in a dark hole over on the other side of the room or something. So with the photo cells on the S3 are so much bigger than the rest of the lineup that it just gives you a clean image, brings in more light, and with the dual ISO, it just gives you a really clean image.
All right, and then we're gonna, autofocus is very important to us, specifically when you're using a gimbal or slider or some of your motion shots. Garrett and I have had the privilege to be on juries for film competitions for like WPPI and things like that, and that was one of the biggest problems for a lot of people, specifically on the gimbal and stuff. So most
The focusing.
most
Yeah.
cameras these days have, I don't really know much. Do cameras have good autofocus these days, Garrett?
I tell you what, from when we first started, we shot manual focus, and I had like a badge of honor. I felt like it was in a feather in my cap, and I used to be like, I don't use autofocus. I'm a manual shooter.
Yeah.
I shoot manual, and I mean, it's a tough job to shoot manual, especially if
Yeah.
you want to shoot wide open at 1.2, 1.4, even 1.8. It's pretty tough, and the hardest part of the wedding, the most stressed of any wedding, you used to be at least, is when the bride's walking towards me. I'm in front of the church. She's walking directly towards me with her dad. And I would say on a good day, I got like maybe 60 or 70% of it all the way down. On a bad day, I may have 40 or 50%, enough to represent.
Super slow motion.
Yeah, super slow motion for sure. And then I have enough to represent, what happened. But when I finally bit the bullet, and what was it with the
6300.
6300. We shot a wedding it's Indiana's, the church has the longest aisle in all of Indiana. And so I made Amber, I would go to the front and I made her walk back and forth pretending to be the bride. And I watched the autofocus because I was so scared to trust autofocus. But once I got into a place where I trusted it, and now it's so much better than it has been in the past. It alleviates so much pressure, and I can think about composition. I can think about different ways to expose, and I can be on the lookout for my next shot. That's part of my brain I don't have to use anymore, is just trying to pull manual focus. Occasionally, I do pull manual focus because you want to shoot through some foreground or like some glassware, laying on the counter. And so I still use it for that, but it has alleviated so much stress. And plus with the Sony eye tracking, if we have somebody on a toast who gets a little wily and starts walking around during the reception. We had one guy on a Segway rolling around. I'm like, oh my God, I could not imagine manually focusing this, but I just touched him on the screen and the focus just followed him everywhere. So autofocus is a great thing. It's like having your own personal focus puller. It's great.
Yeah, it allows you to create more freely. Whenever you can pull things like that out of the equation, it allows your brain to create more freely.
Well, my brain it's like a waffle. It only has so many squares. And on a wedding day, those squares are all full. So I don't shoot a lot of behind the scenes at our weddings. Amber, you're the one doing that because I'm just like, I'm all in trying to think of everything and ADHD going crazy. But if I can alleviate one thing, that means I can concentrate on something else. So it works out really good.
Okay. All right, stabilization. So in-body image stabilization is important because of those times whenever we have to. I'm gonna go through these a little bit quickly. Some of these that
you're telling me to
zip it, yeah. So like whenever he was saying, whenever he goes handheld, I'll let you go on tangents, but you've already done that tangent.
Okay.
See? So the in-body image stabilization in these cameras. Okay, the in-body image stabilization in these cameras allows us to go handheld and it not look like Blair Witch Project.
Right.
Although that might be dating us.
Right. It's not a replacement for your gimbal. Don't think you're going to be able to walk around and do gimbal shots with it. But it's, I try to stay on a monopod probably 90% of the day.
There's certain times for it,
Right,
though.
right. There is absolutely certain times for it.
So
But
that's
like
one thing that we definitely need to make sure that we are looking at whenever we're choosing our camera.
Right.
Your frame rates. What kind of frame rate does your camera offer? And
Is this a tangent I'm going to get off of?
well, let me just go through these and
Okay.
I'll let. Okay. Oops, my screen here. Your image quality, of course, needs to be. I can't find my mouse. I
Where'd it
lost
go?
it. I don't know.
Sorry. Can you exit full screen and go back? See if that'll clear it
Yeah,
up. There it
thank
is.
you.
Yeah. It just decided to disappear. It's the gremlins. It's the gremlins in the
The
machine.
gremlins. It's not okay. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but image quality, like one of the things I love using on a wedding day, I'll be on the S3, but I'll take my A1 and for the ceremony, I will put it in the balcony or maybe on a high tripod. If there's not a balcony, I'll put it on a high tripod in the back, and I'll get not an ultra wide shot, but like enough that the shot I'm getting, I can see the entire wedding party when they stand up there. So it's kind of like a medium shot, and I'll shoot that in 8K. And so later, if I want to, I can punch in, if they got 4K, I can punch in to at least 2 times. Maybe I can punch in a little more if I need to, just to give it that little extra angle that I don't have otherwise.
Yeah. Then compatibility. So one of the things that we take very seriously is making sure our cameras, lenses, even down to the like plates, the quick release plates, everything is compatible. Everything works seamlessly together so that we're not having to look for adapters and look
Right.
for things, because anytime you're adapting or anytime you're adding more stuff to your camera, that's more points of failure, right? And so we want to eliminate the points of failure on a wedding day so that we can create as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
For instance, all of our cameras have the same plates, and I can, if I don't have my camera with me or if Amber's next to me and I have the gimbal, I can swap cameras on the gimbal and go. I don't have to worry about, oh, this one doesn't have the right plate on it, or this one doesn't have the right adapter. Like just like what she was saying, everything can be swapped really quick.
We've taken a lot of care into thinking about how to make it more streamlined. I mean, at this point, we've talked about it last time, but we've done over 600 weddings, and if you're not doing that, then there's a problem. Weather sealing, that's something that, like we've filmed a wedding in pouring down rain before. So
Record breaking. The record hasn't been. Yeah, it was an outdoor wedding, and they went ahead and did it. The rain stopped for just long enough to have the ceremony with just a little bit of sprinkles. But right before that and right after that, it was just a downpour, record breaking in Indiana, and we actually took them out in the rain, and they were an amazing couple. They were rock stars.
It was
and
super
they
cool.
danced in the rain. It was absolutely great. But yeah, that's really important to us.
yeah, so it's important for your gear to be weather sealed. And then recording formats and bit rates. I think that could have kind of went the same with the frame rate, but you're just making sure that your camera has everything that's available for you that you need it to do.
Right.
Like, do you need, I don't know.
60 frames a second. Do you need
Yeah.
120?
What are your
all of our
needs?
cameras, I don't understand why you would want to shoot on any lower bit rate than the maximum. I want I know, right? I need
Not surprised.
the best image. Like I want my camera, I paid money for this camera. I want the best image it can give me. So I have it cranked up to the highest bit rate that I can possibly get, and all of the cameras are like that. So what really, it's happened to me before, but I'll have one camera on one bit rate and one color scheme, and then another camera I just forgot, and it's on a total another picture profile, and it's on a lower bit rate. It may have even been turned down to 1080 for, I don't know, a podcast or something. So having that different bit rate, your client's probably not going to notice a big difference, but when you go to edit and you start color grading and you start wishing you had more latitude and you had a broader range to pull down, maybe the highlights were too hot, maybe the blacks were too crushed, and you can bring those up with the highest bit rate, the what's it called, all intra. It takes a lot of storage, but it takes a lot of space, but it just gives you the maximum capability to give you additional room to push like those levels in post-production, and it will save your life sometimes.
So there would be times when you wouldn't want to do that though. Push it to, like, what if you were filming 30 weddings a year? Would you want to do the highest bit rate still?
I would, because
would.
I have all the color the camera can give me. I have all of the information that it's possible.
So you're just investing in a lot of hard drives.
Yeah, and this makes sense because you're like, why would you do that? Well, you're not the primary editor.
No,
So
I'm
when I
not.
go to
I'm
color-
asking for the students.
Okay, so when I go to color grade, which we'll talk about this later, but on a lower bit rate, I mean, if you don't have the cards for it, it'll do fine. I shot on 8-bit for years and years and years, did just fine. Didn't shoot S-Log, I did okay. But if you don't have that, it's just nice to be able to have that. It's not, if you're a photographer, it's not like you have the capability to adjust it like you would a raw image, but it gets you a lot closer than shooting just like an 8-bit with maybe on the more compressed file size.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about cameras?
I don't think so.
Okay, we're gonna head on to lenses, which is, I don't know, probably just as important as your camera, maybe more so,
Yeah.
because like your lenses are what's going to direct the viewer into, like how you want them to feel, you know?
And our workhorse is without a doubt the 7200. This is the new Sony's new Mark II version, 7200 G Master, and this helps us. I think of weddings like shooting wildlife. I've never been on a safari, but I can only imagine that if you go to a safari and you want animals in their to act and behave the way they would in their environment, you don't go walking up real close to them and start filming them or taking a picture. You want to not be an effect of their environment and how they're acting. So when you're shooting a wedding, whether it's prepping or the first look, all of that, we like to step back a little bit and give our bride and groom room to breathe and give this bubble that we don't break.
Bubble of privacy, yeah.
We want them to react the way they do and not feel us breathing down their necks. I love the 35 millimeter, but it's just for the most part, I never use it. If I want to go wider, I have my 14 or 12 to 24. But this helps us shoot. I mean, we're on this. I use my 50 in this most of the day, and then I have like my 14 millimeter on my gimbal for some big epic special wide shots.
So 70-200, that is also my go-to lens. I think I maybe only take it off my lens or my camera during the dancing at the end of the ceremony or at the end of the reception. But the whole entire day I'm on the 70-200. Garrett is the one that plays around a little more. So like he said, at the groom prep or the prep, he's going to be taking a 50 with him usually. But 70-200 for all the live event stuff. Like once we get into like doing creative session and doing, like
Even for the creative session, you'll be on this,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
I'll juggle the 50, and then I'll swap it out for maybe the 14, or sometimes even the 50, and just leave the 50 on the camera and put it on the gimbal. And especially during the first dances, I like to tell my photographer, hey, there's this one shot I want to do. I have to get closer to them. I'm just going to go around them once and be done. And so I'll get the 50 on a gimbal, lock them in, and then I'll walk around them with the gimbal. And as I'm walking, there's just enough compression when I get close enough to them. There's just enough compression that the background is moving faster than my foreground. So it gives this epic. I was trying to think of the director, right? J.J. Abrams or something.
Who is it? The Transformers
Yeah,
guy.
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay.
Yeah, every shot is like a moving shot with compression, and it's a lot. But if you can just do it every once in a while, especially in that first dance, I'll spin around them once and then go off to the side so I'm not in the way of the photographer, and then I'll get maybe a wide shot, and then Amber will see that I'm on the 50, and so she'll augment my shots with a tighter, more personal 200 millimeter.
Yep. Then we also 24-70. A lot of the times that will go on our safety camera, the one that Garrett was talking
Upstairs,
about
yeah.
that goes upstairs. We'll also use that for our safety, like during the toasts too. So it'll just be like the 3-shot, or the 4, like the whole table. Who knows? And then macro usually for like ring shots, which is one of Garrett's favorite things to do.
Yeah, that's the one. It's a whole lens for one shot,
But it was
damn,
worth it.
it's a good shot.
It's worth it to you,
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
what matters.
Yep.
And then the wide angle. So he's using what are you using now? The 14?
I was using the 12 or 24, which I love that lens, but I would call it upgrade, but I just changed to the 14 millimeter prime. It's a little faster. This is a 1.8 as opposed to using the 2.8.
It's a little smaller too, right?
It's quite a bit lighter
like
and smaller.
Half.
When I had it on my gimbal, I had to use like counterweights because it's not a heavy lens, but I'm comparing it to this lens.
Yeah.
It's much
Has a lot more
heavier.
glass in the
A
front.
lot more glass in the front, yeah.
So those are the must-have lenses that we use for every wedding. Lens abilities to consider. So we definitely need them to be versatile because, like we said, we're only you know, except for the macro, that's not very
Right,
versatile.
it's not, but I gotta have it. I
Hold
gotta
on.
have it in my bag.
Do you have your 24? You use that too sometimes.
Yeah, occasionally I'll pop this up in the balcony as well.
That's a smaller lens too, so that kind of fits in there easily too.
Right.
Or sometimes you'll use it whenever you need not quite the 14.
Right, and the 24 is very light and small. All these primes are, I mean, they're all sharp, but the primes are ridiculously sharp.
Yeah.
And this is a good lens sometimes if I'm in, I always have a backup camera, so if Amber and I are both shooting the reception toast, I'll have something wide somewhere in case one of us messes up our shot or I'm
Never.
repositioning. Yeah, it never happens. I'm repositioning, running across there, or something unexpected happens that you weren't prepared for. You have that wide shot, and the 24 is it's a 1.4 lens. So if you are in a dark reception hall, this is going to do great things for you.
Yeah, that's also a lens. I think you like to use that during like dance party stuff too, right? I feel like you can.
Yeah.
So like we were talking about with the low light performance and capabilities and stuff, we want it to have, we want them to be fast.
Yeah.
Like that's something that we
And I shoot
decided.
them, unless it's a wide shot from the back, I shoot pretty much everything wide open.
Yeah, so
I just love the way it looks.
If it's a 1.8 lens, we're probably going to be using it at 1.8. So then you got the depth of field, or compression or whatever. So you want to use that. Speed and accuracy. How fast is your lens? Does it focus fast? Will it work with your autofocus on your camera very quickly? So those are the type of things when you're thinking about, do I want to do third-party lenses or do I want to stick with lenses that go with my camera system? That's something really to consider because it just doesn't work as, I don't know.
Right. I haven't used third-party lenses in quite a while. I do have a couple antique lenses that I use for fun sometimes, but not for a whole lot of work. But I want the most compatible system. I want the electronics to work with, I don't want to have to worry about that at all. We've used adapters in the past. When we first switched, we used some different manufacturers' glass, and it seemed like with the adapters, you would have to reset them. So you have to
I don't want to think about
know,
that.
right?
That was a whole other
Right.
point of failure that stressed me out for like 2 years
Right.
because we were just waiting. We've been with A7S II for over 10 years now. So like whenever Sony first put those cameras out, they didn't have these lens options. And now they have like
So
200 and something lenses, 230. I don't know. They tell us a lot, but I can't remember the exact. They tell us all the time. I'm like, I can't remember.
But it just makes sense to me to have the same engineers that built the operating system on your camera to make the operating system and the software on your lens,
and the stabilization all works together better.
Right.
So they say too. And that was my next thing. Is your lens stabilized? Can you go hand? Because the stabilization on the lens and it working in conjunction with the body all just really lends toward a very nice looking image. Because one thing that we don't like to see is unintentional camera movement, right? So all of our camera movements are going to be intentional. Okay, I love that picture of you, by the way. Garrett will do.
I wasn't wearing jeans to a wedding. This was a pre-wedding shoot.
Yes, yeah. I didn't even think about
almost
that.
like an engagement shoot, but
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I don't wear jeans to weddings.
No, look nice, everyone.
Yes.
That's just. I shouldn't have to say that, but I'm going to.
I know, right?
You need to look nice at
You
weddings.
look nice. Don't wear jeans.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. And then here's the thing: what vibe is your lens bringing?
Right.
So, Garrett, there's one lens, it used to be the 12 to 24, but now it's the 14.
Right.
And that lens can have a couple different vibes. And so whenever you're thinking about what lens to use for a specific part of the day, that's something to consider. So do you want to talk about the vibe of that lens?
This has, I'm sure you can get more out of it, but I use it for two vibes. Look how,
I know.
It disappears in my hand.
Well, you got big meat hoops.
But this has a very epic feel or a very fun feel. So for an epic feel, I might have my motion controlled slider on the back,
Well, here, it's
sitting
right here in
behind-
this picture. The motion
Okay.
control slider is getting a really
yeah,
cool time
okay,
lapse
that
of
was a
this
time lapse,
horse. And so this horse, I gotta just tell you a quick story. This horse is from Holiday World. This was a wedding of the people that own Holiday World. It's an amusement park here in our area. And they took a couple of the horses from their carousel and use them at the wedding. But of course we had to get that right. So Garrett did a really cool time lapse for that, and it was so epic. It was just that beautiful wide shot. But so you get those epic shots.
Yeah, the venue it was in was
West Baden.
I don't even know how to
Just
explain
look it up. It's called West Baden, Indiana. Oh my gosh.
Basically like a sports dome, but
It's a dome.
it's a hotel. Anyways, I wanted to see everything. So there's two ways for me to use this lens. You can do a slow, like a push, a slow pull, or a slow slide. And like if you're at a wedding, you'll see this on every one of our videos. If the church is of the epic, like it's just begging for a big epic church, like a big, huge, beautiful stained glass Catholic church or something like that. Just to have a slider come out behind the bride and her dad as they walk down the aisle it's beautiful, and just a slow. I'll start with this on a gimbal and go like if we're the bride and groom, I'll start like here, and I want to say 3, 2, 1. When I say 1, I want you to guys kiss, and so I'll start here with the gimbal, and as I pull back slowly, they'll read on. Oh, got me something extra. So that's an epic way. Another way is fun. This is a very fun lens to emphasize how much fun you're having. When one of my shots I do all the time is if the bride and groom are coming in to be announced at the reception. They're like, for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett, whatever. And they come in, they're like, woo, they're all dancing, everybody's going crazy. I usually start, I'll start in front of them, working side by side with the photographer, and as I'm coming back, I'm revealing everybody just
Hooping and
hollering. You get to see the entire venue, and then I won't walk backwards all the way, but halfway I'll stop and do this turn, and so they'll walk right past me, and I'll back up just for a second and then start chasing them a little bit, and that's where you get to see all the people and all the decorations, and you just get it all in one shot, and it's so much fun. And then when they go up to the dance floor to maybe they dance a little bit right before dinner or whatever, I'll do a couple spins or something around them. But it's a very fun lens. I'll do the same thing at the dance, when the open dancing, everybody's having a good time and dancing. I'll get the gimbal, my 14, I'll get out in the middle of the dance floor and just get like a tall,
And
high
sometimes
shot.
you'll do that with a just handheld too.
Right,
Because handheld with the 14 also gives it a different energy. So
Yeah.
that's the vibe too. So handheld with the 14 is also putting that energy from the reception through your lens.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. All right, so we're also going to talk about light. Now, this is one of Garrett's favorite topics, as you can see behind us. We have lights all over our house, and also we have lights everywhere, all over the place, all the time. So the impact of added light is very important, and some people may get nervous adding light at a wedding, but don't. As long as you're communicating and talking with people, it's fine. It'll
Right.
be fine.
Yeah, and the importance of lighting is, especially so we use the Light in Motion. This is the CLX 10, and as you can see, it's smaller than the. These
fit in our bag too. I
Yeah.
forgot to tell. So not only do all of our cameras and lenses and all of this stuff, but also our 2 lights that we take with us like this. And then we'll also have a whole bunch. Usually he'll have a couple smaller light panels or 2.
Yeah, just for like doing ring shots.
Yeah, or just
very,
like little
very,
detail
very,
things.
very, very small.
Just fun.
But these are 10,000 lumens. They are RF remote controlled, so that's important to me because I've had lights in the past that are like Bluetooth controlled, and if you're in a reception hall, there might be 500 people in there. Everybody has their phones. Just the extra bodies in there, the masses of water. It sometimes doesn't work. I like the RF remote, the radio frequency,
Hold on.
because
We're getting so portability.
okay.
Okay, there we go. Battery powered and remote controlled.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so there we go.
So
The
with these, you can set up scenes. So if you know there's going to be the first dance here, but the cake's over here. With us, we wouldn't have time to rearrange our lights. We use cheetah stand lights. They're quick, but not quick enough for us to be able to change our whole lighting scheme. So if you want to, you can set up lighting schemes and change that via the remote. But this is the only light that I know of that checks all these boxes. It's water resistant, so I've shot with these out in the rain, and it's also internal battery. And I think at 100%, I can get about an hour out of these, but I never ever have to. If I did 100% at a reception, I think the bride and groom would kill me because it would totally ruin the ambiance.
Yeah. So you do have to think. You have to balance your light to match the ambiance of the room.
Right. And so I throw on a Fresnel little adapter on the front. It's about that long, snaps on there, and it lets me
I think you're actually
laser.
using it.
Yeah, I think 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm using 4 of these right now, just to light us in the background.
We really love these
And
lights.
then there's also then I have like I think 6. Anyways, I love lighting scenes. But this also is internal battery powered. I want it to be quick and easy. I don't want to have to set this up and then plug a cable into it that runs to a big battery pack. Less is more for me. I want quick, fast, and easy. And so I think I run these at 20 or 30% during a wedding ceremony. They are daylight balanced. I throw a warming gel on it, and I'm set for all kinds of tungsten. But yeah, these are insanely powerful, and we've used these for several
And so
years.
one cool thing about these light and motion lights is that they're single chip LED too. So you don't have like the panel with all the little dots on it that casts extra shadows, you know, so whenever you see like the little dots and the shadows, I mean, I know you can get light panels that don't have that, but this is LED and it's single chip. So it's also doesn't burn your hand whenever you go to pack it.
Right, and it's we carry 2 of these, so we'll have one on either side of the dance floor, getting a nice like face.
Right here.
There we go. Oh, perfect.
So we have our lights, as you can see, the little wands. So we have our lights, and we usually cross them through the dance floor. And so this is setting up, like, let's say for the speeches. So you have our dance floor with the little tables and the little castles, the couple. So Garrett and I will usually we will kneel because we are tall. So Garrett's 6'4", I'm almost 6 foot, depending on my heels, depending on if I'm wearing heels. But so we usually will kneel down, and then because they're seated or far enough away, we're not looking up at them. So we're gonna cross, and we're getting the couple and the reaction of the couple and the speaker, whoever is doing the toast. So this is how we have our
What
toast
are the bottom 2 things?
These things right here?
Yeah.
Those are us. Those are the lenses. Those are us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're shooting, we're cross shooting. So, and then so usually like we have, so like if I look over at Garrett and he does this, that I know he has our 3 shot. So he just looks at,
I have the if I say 3, if I just hold up my hand and say 3, I have the bride, the groom, and the person giving the toast.
and so if you say 2 shot, I just have the bride and groom. So that's my reaction shot, or sometimes, and then we'll just do this for the speaker because that's the microphone.
Right. And by setting the light up like across from each other, pretty much any way you're shooting them, there's going to be a hair light and there's going to be a fill light in their face.
So whenever we go to the dancing, so we're doing the first dance, whatever, we usually will swing back to where we are facing the opposite way, basically.
Right.
Facing that, we are shooting toward the crowd.
Right. We don't face the band usually.
Yeah, we don't face the band. We don't face ugly things. You always face the pretty.
Well,
so.
the bands aren't ugly.
Well,
It's just a lot of times there's just speakers,
not cute.
and it's the light is intense behind them.
Yeah.
Like usually the lighting setup is pretty intense for the band. So by flipping it around, shooting it back, we're actually using their light to light them, and then in conjunction with our light.
So you like that?
I do. That's adorable.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about audio. If you have bad audio, you have a bad film, period. How many times have you looked through YouTube and pulled something up and you're like, I can't watch this because the audio is so bad. It might look so beautiful, but can't do it.
And we rely heavily, most of our weddings, on the spoken word.
But here's the problem. We have a whole class dedicated to audio. And I think it's in 2 or 3 classes, I can't remember. So you'll have to tune in. It's gonna be called Sound Sages. We're not even gonna talk about that. You just put that back down because you have to tune in later.
Okay.
So come back and talk to us. Okay, cool.
You know what I didn't talk about earlier about cameras is
Oh, your little babies.
the RX0 Mark II.
Can we keep going a little bit? Well,
I'm
Go ahead,
just
go
gonna say
ahead.
real quick.
Go ahead.
This is a lifesaver. It is so nice. It's like, I call them it's a camera grenade. You can throw in places.
so these are not like your GoPros.
No, it's what is it? It's
RX0.
35 millimeter equivalent. So it's a fixed 35 millimeter. But
Camera grenades.
yeah, we shot a reception that the the current members of Earth, Wind, and Fire performed, and I couldn't be on stage. I couldn't get close to them, and so I think I
Six
borrowed or rented. I think I had 6 of these that I
Yeah.
mounted all around the stage, and then used the app to start and stop
Yeah.
them all. So I had clips that I could not have gotten without this. A lot of times, I will put this in the balcony, and I'll just use a little, like a magic arm, hook it to the tripod that's already up there, and I'll shoot straight down. And that way, as the bride and groom walk underneath, it's a beautiful perspective that you don't normally get to see. And also, it's a great little time lapse.
You've also used, like, you can get mini tripods, like those tabletop tripods, and he's put that like in the front of the front pew at a Catholic church before, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, I think that was a situation where we weren't allowed to be up front at all.
Yeah.
And I wanted something from her walking down the aisle. I just don't want the back of them the whole time.
Yeah.
So I was able to hide this up front and get something better than I could have gotten
It's a really,
without it.
it's been, and are they waterproof,
Yes.
crush proof?
Yeah, they're waterproof.
Like all the proofs. We threw it in that, so one time we were at a wedding and they had synchronized swimmers in the pool. And so
Oh, yeah, I
we
forgot
threw one
about
in the
that.
bottom of a pool.
I gave it to
One of the-
to one of the swimmers. Like, hey, this sounds crazy, but go wherever you guys are swimming. Can you just like go put this down the bottom of the pool and just lay it down there? And I didn't give her any instructions. I set it up to do auto exposure, and she laid it down there, and I got some pretty cool freaking shots.
It was really cool.
It was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about stabilizers now. And it is so not sexy, right? It's the non-sexy part of gear.
Right.
But it's
Well, the gimbal's
so,
kind of sexy, but
yeah.
but
But it's-
usually sticks and monopods
Tripod,
and
monopod, so those are your important things though. Like you have to we are not wanting unintentional movement.
right.
Okay, so
Well, and
tripod, you need to lock your stuff down on a tripod during the live events. Nobody wants to be watching the toasts all shaky. You
Well,
know?
and it's hard to hold. I mean, for me, it is at least. You pick up the camera and I can hold a shot pretty steady for several seconds, but then every once in a while, I'm just going to get tired and I'm going to like do something to where the image is going to go from like a decent, organic shot, and then there's just like this jerk in it from where I got tired or something. So yeah, for those long, drawn out events, you need to have something locked down. And I don't mean a gimbal. If it's all you can do, that's fine. But I try not to do any long shots with the gimbal because it's just sitting there like this the whole
it's
time.
unnatural to the viewer.
Right.
Okay, so like those unintentional movements in your film, those are things that draw your viewer out.
They pop you out of it.
You
Yeah.
automatically think of the person who is filming. So that's why I say that. Your monopod, that's something, so I use a monopod 90% of the day, tripod. Well, okay, I use a monopod all day except for live event things.
Except for the reception
the
toast,
toasts and the
full ceremony. Yeah.
So that's just me. That's how we work well together. Garrett has extreme ADHD. He likes to play around. I really don't care about using gimbal or slider. So those are things that it helps him stretch his creative mind, and he gets to play with other tools and toys and use different lenses for that.
Well, I'll still use a tripod during the ceremony.
Yeah.
I'll set it up, and once it gets to a point where the ceremony is pretty much locked down, and then I'll grab my gimbal or the slider or something, and I'll play with another camera while my main camera is getting the what I call the meat and potatoes of the ceremony.
Right. Your gimbal. I will tell you one thing. Oh my gosh, we're sold. We don't have a lot of time left. We have 9 minutes. But whenever we started, we used the glide cam. We have the vest, we have the whole rig, the glide cam, and that he looked like RoboCop, and it just didn't lend toward, like, in a tight reception, he couldn't walk around. I mean, Garrett's 6'4" anyway, so he's a tall guy, big guy. Like, it's just like taking too much attention away, and it was just like they were more attracted to him than what was happening at the wedding. So we found a gimbal that you like that's smaller, but it has dual handles. Right. So that's
the
one
dual
thing.
handles really help me.
Yeah.
That each handle has the springs in it. So as you're walking, trying to do the duck walk, you all know what that is, I'm sure. As you're walking, the springs inside of the arms kind of take up that additional movement. You got to tune them just right to match your cadence and your style of shooting. But as you're walking, you can be doing a little bit of this, and your camera is, the gimbal is absorbing that extra movement, and so you're not looking like a walking
Yeah.
camera.
We also really love our slider. So we have the Rhino slider, the Evo or something.
The Mark II.
Yeah, Rhino
version
slider Evo Mark II. It is motorized. It's wonderful, beautiful. It does all the different motions, motion control. Like it, you can program it. We have short rails for it. We have long rails for it. Like you'll see in this picture on the screen, the long rails. That was our Rhino slider.
And it's great for doing motion controlled time lapses of. I mean, yeah, you can just set up a
You
camera.
were doing motion controlled time lapse, or no, sorry, motion control interview. You know, so
yeah.
interviews, like those are types of things you can do with that. But so the shot that we always do, that's at the back of the aisle where the slider push and it does the push. I used to have to run from the front all the way to the back, manually push the slider out, and I don't have to do that anymore. That was the most stressful part of my day.
Right.
So
It's like a little robot back there just doing
this
the work
robot
for us.
just keeps going back and forth. Then you have your drone. So we have had
Speaking of
drones
robots.
since they came out. That's so disgusting to say too, like over 10 years.
Yeah, we had them
were at
before the drones came out.
Yeah, we were at the first NAB, National Association of Broadcasters. They had like a conference in Las Vegas. We're at the first one where DJI was. We're also at the first one with Movi. So we are very old. But we have been using drones from the beginning. Garrett likes, is this the Mavic 2 or something?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't got to the newest one yet, but we used to have the big one. I loved it so much.
Inspire.
Yeah, the Inspire, but again, it's small kit that just took too long to set up and have a whole new, different case for it. This again fits in my camera
Fits
case.
in the camera bag and the batteries and the
controller.
controller.
with the screen on it.
With the screen, everything. Yeah, the controller with the screen. All of that fits in our bag too.
Comparing everything to the 70 to 200, but it's
I mean, look at that. All of those three things, they fit. They just slide right down into our bag, and it has just made a world of difference. And then we talk about handhelds, so we've kind of talked about that already. Oh, this is a really fun clip of Garrett using the.
So doing a.
Hold on, wait till. That was cool.
Doing a gimbal shot there, but I'm trying to turn it into a jib shot.
So you had the gimbal on top of your monopod.
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
so you need to be tall and strong. Don't do that unless you're tall and strong.
I'm looking at that video. I'm like, man, that looks like that monopod's about to snap.
Your wedding planner trusted you.
I know, right? But I want, when I shoot, I'm always looking for things that you can't see normally. Like I don't want my wedding videos to be able to be, I don't want it to emulate a guest view. I want it to see things in a cinematic way that you cannot, the normal person isn't going to see. So I want it to be something that is very, well, like that shot, just a big shot coming. I think I ended up using it. I started tight. And then I pulled back, which is like, okay, that's pretty cool. And you probably do that with handheld, but I just kept pulling back, and they got higher and higher and higher. And like, oh my god, what is that? You know, it's
a really cool
it's
shot.
it's a shot that is unique and it's not a lazy shot. Let's just say that.
So one tip we wanted to talk to you about is making these little cards to do not move time lapse in progress. This is something that we made years ago, and they just help because people.
Well, you'll set up, like for this shot here, they were assembling, they had a custom dance floor with their name and logo and graphics or whatever on it. And so I wanted to get that. But if I would have just set that camera there, this has happened to me before. I set it there and then I go off to shoot the groom's getting ready or whatever. People see that and it's super quiet, it's not making any noise. And they're like, oh, they must have it's just sitting here. I can just move it because it's in my way. And so I've had time lapses just get moved, and so this really helps. I think I do overkill. There's like 3 of them, and it's like don't move, and the last like don't freaking move my, it's a time lapse. So this I haven't had anybody move it thus far. Knock on wood.
Okay, so choosing the right stabilizer for the right moment. I feel like we've kind of talked about that as we've kind of walked through this journey of gear, but okay. What I was trying to say earlier, and I got sidetracked, but whenever we first got the glide cam, what was all of our film?
It looked like it was shot on a boat.
It was all
Because I
glide
was like,
cam.
oh, I got this stabilizer. It's so
Your first
cool.
drone, how
And
many
like,
drone shots do you have? 7,
don't even,
10.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
just be mindful of keeping the special shots special
Right. I only use a gimbal
3 or 4 times.
three or four times a day because I don't like if I'm what's the Transformer director again? Michael Bay. Yeah, Michael Bay is like every shot is a moving, panning, swooping. But that's you got Transformers, you got explosions and stuff. So I don't have explosions, so I'm not. If every shot is the same,
Even
film,
if it's epic, even if
yeah.
every shot is epic, if it's the same, it will still
It's
be
gonna stale. It's just
boring.
gonna get
It'll
stale.
get
So
stale.
I use the gimbal during like when the bride and groom come in. Just I pinpoint certain times of the day where I want a big epic shot. Maybe during the first dance, the reception, first dances, and then maybe once at the
The photo session.
and then
yeah.
during we have time to play during the ceremony, I'll just do a slow walk and slow push towards them walking down
If the
the
church
aisle.
or
Right.
if they're okay with us moving, or like if it's outdoor, you don't.
Now on the polar opposite side of that, getting a 50 millimeter and going handheld on the dance floor, your camera is going to be a little bit like this, but that is okay because you're giving the experience of the person is there on the dance floor. So that little bit of camera shake and camera movement, you might call it they call it like a heavy camera movement, but that little bit of energy and that little bit of shake inside of your camera translates to the viewer that they're having a fun dance party and the camera's in there dancing too. So you just choose it carefully.
All right, so I forgot to put memory in here. I also forgot to put batteries. Just have enough batteries so you don't have to charge. Have enough memory that have good quality. Make sure, you're keeping track. You have them labeled. We use the Sony Tough cards. Are you going to do the drop?
Oh, yeah.
We have to go a little bit faster.
Okay, so we use the CF Express Type A because you can do the full bit rate at 120 frames a second if you want to, and get the maximum resolution and bit rate from your camera. It's the fastest card out there, and it's also great if you're doing like shooting with the A1 at 30 frames a second, shooting photography. If you're doing a lot of fast action, you don't have to wait for the buffer to load. It's just hold the trigger down and let it go. But yeah, these are the tough cards.
Satisfying.
Are nice. It's just a nice noise. I don't know. I like it.
I know you do. So in our treasure box, the last thing we have to talk about, and I will go quickly on this one because I have no minutes left. What's in my car? So as important as what is in your bag is what is in your car. So you better have a cooler. I don't know why it took us so long, but probably within half of our Korean weddings, we're like, we should probably bring a cooler with some water.
Yeah.
And then like a couple of years later, why don't we throw sandwiches in there? So make sure you are taking care of your body.
Yourself,
because if you are not hydrated, if you are not fulfilled, like if you are hangry, you are not going to be producing good images. You're not going to be producing good film.
Yeah, you don't want to think about, man, when are we going to eat? Or,
Yeah.
man, I'm super thirsty.
I
You
mean,
want to
gosh.
be all your energy going into this camera.
Yeah, food, ibuprofen, like whatever, whatever.
Band-Aids, I mean, just...
Band-Aids. Yeah, I have worn new shoes to a wedding, packed my old shoes. Weather gear. See Garrett out there in the rain, like he was weather sealed mostly, but
it was raining pretty good, so I had I have an emergency camera and lens.
yeah.
It's a glorified plastic bag, but it's
Yeah.
made for cameras. Has a nice little hole in the front for the lens, and it really helped.
And pants again. So,
Yep.
if you need to. But those are just a few of the things that we always keep in our car. We keep tied to go sticks. One other thing, baby wipes. We don't have children, so we didn't know the power of a baby wipe until it was too late. And one time Garrett accidentally got bird poop on him at a wedding. And so ever since then, we always carry baby wipes in the car. But this is the last thing that we're going to say. The best gear cannot replace a bad customer experience. So you can have the top of the line best gear, but it's not going to give you a good customer experience. It's not going to give you a good film. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Kind of sped up there at the end.
Well, we just, because it's 2:02 now.
Okay.
So,
Covered a lot of ground. Wow.
thanks, Derek. We did cover a lot of ground today,
You guys are
but
great.
we had
I,
so much fun.
I'm sitting here and it's just like, man, I could just let you guys go all day. You're such a good rapport and vibe. I'm like, man, so entertaining, and you guys make it so much fun. It's funny
Thanks.
to pick apart little things that you guys, were bringing up, and I'm just like, okay, yes. As coming from someone who has very little video experience, there were
Yeah.
so many relevant things there. One thing I want to go back to is
Yes.
the whole, like, when picking a lens, because I find
Yeah.
that that's one of the things that trips a lot of people up. You don't realize it until, everybody starts shooting video and it's like, all right, I'm just going to put music behind it. And I don't care about audio because I don't know how to do audio. And, you don't have to worry about the little noises that the camera makes or that the focusing mechanism makes. And so I wanted to go back to that lens part, because I feel like that's where so many people get caught up is exactly that. Like, or you have a lens that you don't realize it's not focusing or it's going in and out, and it's like, oh, this might be a great lens for stills, but it's not a great lens for video. How do you guys know what is a good video lens without renting it, without testing it out? Obviously, the internet is it's as good as it is bad. You can get tons of great information and tons of information that leads you astray. What's the best advice you can give in that regard for finding a lens specifically for video?
Mm.
Well, I can only speak to my experience with Sony's new what's it called, linear focusing. Um, they have a new way of like,
Oh, the new autofocus
yeah,
system
the
from
autofocus
Sony. Yeah.
system. Well, primarily on yeah, the lenses where there used to be like gears that would turn. This is I compare it to like a roller coaster, like those roller coasters that go from like 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. They're basically hovering on magnetic rails, and that's kind of the same technology that it focuses on these cameras. And I usually on my
You mean on
bodies,
the lenses?
on the lenses, sorry, yes, and on the bodies, you can adjust how quickly the camera will change. Like when you change to a different subject, like let's say I'm focusing on the groom here, but the
Mhm.
bride's back there. I tap the screen to go to the bride. I have to turn down how quickly it jumps focus over to my next subject because it's unorganic. It's so fast. You touch it, it goes, and it just jumps over there real fast. So I have to turn that down. So when I change to a different subject, especially for a wedding, it'd be different for sports. For sports, you'd want that fast reaction. But for a wedding, I want a slow, organic focus pull. So I can just tap the subject and I slow the focusing down just a little bit so that I get that nice transition of focus. But all of the newer G Masters have that. I'm sorry, Sony. I forget what it's called, but I think it's a linear focusing something or other. But it's so fast, and we've used older lenses that are great in their own right, but they are just not equipped for video. So their focus is very 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 slow compared to these new Sony G Masters, and it used to not be a problem because we'd focus everything manually, so we didn't care what lens we used. We
Yeah,
would
is that
just
even a thing? Like, do people still focus
yeah, people
manually?
that are want to
I
take it to
mean,
the next level and be more like cinematography and go with cinema lenses and lenses that are more in the cinema world. Those are all, for the
some
most
people
part,
take
manual.
big cinema lenses and also put them on that, like the S3s and stuff. So, or, some people use cinema cameras for weddings. So there's not really, that's the problem. Not really the problem. I think that's the beauty of weddings is it's so diverse. Like, we have to think about whenever we're choosing a lens for us for a specific, like, say a specific time of the day. What is the impact of the lens? Like, is it going to cause me physically to be closer to the subject or further away? Like, even though that's not really how you're supposed to think about lenses, because the zoom is compression, right? You zoom with your
Mm.
feet. But with weddings, it's a little different, like we were talking about before, the emotional bubble. So for me, I always choose a 70-200 because the shots that I'm getting the emotion, the little things that happen in between. That's my job. Whereas Garrett's job is the epic stuff. So whenever you think about it, what lens do I want for a scene where I need to see everything, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. But a lot of people also like to use like the 24 to 105.
Right.
So we are just, he's a prime whore. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't say that.
We did.
But a lot of people really like the 24 to 105 at weddings, and I think that's a fantastic lens. And like I said, there's not really a wrong time. Well, there is wrong times to use, but I don't know. It's just all about your art, really, too.
Right, and
It's all very subjective, of course. It's like the art
Totally.
thing. But
It's
there
like
are.
it's like the second you make a statement, you're walking it back. You're like, wait, but no, but then there's that one circumstance
know,
or that
I
one
know.
person, the one
That's
person who takes the stuff that nobody else can use, and they're like, well, I
Yeah.
do great things with it.
I know. So that's how it is with weddings, and we always feel like, as educators, it's like, well, we do it this way. You don't have to, but this is how we're doing it. And
Right,
this
right.
is how we choose lenses for the specific scenarios.
And
I
like
hope that.
we did a couple short docs, and I used the 24 to 70 90% of the time, just because it was so very
It's much more
versatile.
versatile for you.
And I like that. I mean, 2.8's about. I don't like shooting over 2.8 because I like to be able to separate my subject from the background, and it's easier to do. Like you can shoot at f4 5.6 with a 7200, and with the compression and you're zooming in, you're gonna get that separation. But if you're on something wider like a 24 to 70, 2.8's about as low as high as I want to go, because I want to be able to isolate my subject.
I hope that cleared it up a little bit, or did it make it more murky?
No, look, I look at it this way. It's like I feel like the people who we get the information from are the person version of a TLDR. It's
Yeah.
like I don't want to go through all the situations. I like Amber and Garrett's stuff. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. I've seen
I
their
like it.
stuff, and it's kind of like that's what we represent. You don't have time to dig in. It's like, oh well, one time in 1997, Garrett took this shot, and I didn't really. It's like, no, you look at the overall body of work, and it's not really so much about the nuances, because again, we can split hairs all day.
Yes.
Nobody's out here with 100% kill rate on their photos or their videos, and we all put post processing in. We all have had to jump through the hoops and earn our stripes and cut our teeth and whatever other analogy you want to use. But no, I mean, you guys put together great work. You're probably even more fun to watch education wise than, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that aren't cut to educate. So you guys are just,
Thank you.
I'm sitting over here. I feel like I'm sitting on the couch watching a TV show. So
Thank you so
Thanks, man.
much. Well, I will tell you, we are possibly working on a podcast.
Maybe.
do it. Do it.
Everybody else
Do
has
it.
fun. They're so good at it.
Maybe we'll do it.
Maybe we'll do it. But yeah,
You
Sony,
should.
I just need you to make me a 12 to 600 at 1.8 all the way through. I mean, it's gonna be this big around, but it's fine. I'm good.
Yesterday we had Tony Gale requesting the tilt shift. He's like, I don't know if they're gonna listen. So I'm like, all right, it's gonna be Sony
that's
Artisans Week.
Yeah, tilt shift. I saw Monica's on tomorrow, so.
There we go. We got Monica on tomorrow. We got Ira and Jean coming
Oh.
on next. So
Oh, you
we'll
got
see. We'll see what's on their wish list. Maybe you guys
Yeah.
can contribute to
Wow.
the roadmap this week.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. So, I don't know. Weddings are very personal, but we have tried to just make it as streamlined as possible for us. And-
Which is one reason why we don't use. I mean, I still have one, but like the
Monitors.
monitors that go on top of your camera, it's just more. It's more stuff to pack.
Interesting.
It has its own battery. It has its own cable. There's more points of failure. I can't just, when I have that configuration, I can't just throw it in my bag because it's much bigger. I've tried using cages. They're great for like corporate stuff and interviews. It makes me look and feel more like a filmmaker, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's a space. Like I don't want to take up any more space than I have to, and I don't need any more things to worry about. More
Yeah.
batteries to charge, more cables to break.
And we want to be able to, more cables to break, and then you would have to have a backup, so if you bring a cable, you got your cable, then you have to bring a backup. And so, like, I remember one time we had a kid with us working, we've had third shooters now and then. We had a kid that was helping us, and during the ceremony, his monitor messed up.
Well, he set it down
Oh yeah, that's
on
what
the
it was.
HDMI cable, and it snapped off.
But of course, like, he was young, and so he was fidgeting with
He
it.
went into paralysis. He was just like, "Oh my God,
What do I do?
I just broke your camera.
And
What do
Garrett
I do?"
was just like, let's just pull that
Just
out.
pull it out and you're fine.
But so those are the types of things that we try to avoid because, again, we've seen all of these scenarios and it's like, it's a much harder. Like if that's all kitted out and we can't just drop it in our bag
Yeah.
because we have to do that sometimes. We're going very quickly. We're barely beating the people to the reception, you know, to get details. So these are types of things, especially if you work in areas where you're not. So I'm sorry, I got a little bit, but some of our weddings take place all in the same spot. That's fine.
That's fantastic.
Bring whatever you want. Not really,
It's a rarity,
but still.
but it's fantastic.
But for us, that's not really ever
Right, yeah.
the thing. We're always rushing and trying to stay a step ahead or 6 steps ahead. So that's kind of why we've been able to thoughtfully create this kit for us the two of us can be able to go out into the world and a lot of, I mean, even this kit is basically we modify it, bring more stuff, but commercial work too. So
yeah, I mean, back in the day, we have basically a DJ cart with I think 4 different Pelican cases on it.
We had that before to a wedding.
Yeah, not small cases. And I knew there was a problem when we go to some of these venues, like for the reception. It was a hotel downtown Chicago, and they're like, "Oh, you have to use the entrance in the back.
The service elevator.
The service elevator. You can't come through our lobby with all that gear." And I'm like, "This is embarrassing."
So that was whenever we decided to change our lives.
That was like we're doing a backpack and a person.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, for
Pretty
sure.
much. We're like, we have got to stop because it
Don't
just
have to
stresses
bring
you
everything.
out too.
Yeah.
You don't have to bring everything. It stresses you out. Plus,
Well,
it's
it's a
just
testament to the system. I think the only reason a lot of people use the monitor is the same way that people tether. You don't want to get back and have all your footage be like, crap, everything's out of focus, or I missed focus, or so I think it's really just a reliability thing. It's not like you're seeing it, you're sitting there watching it any better. It's like you guys pointed out, it's one more thing in the chain of command that if you have an issue, instead of saying I know it's in my camera, now you have to be like, well, is it in the cord? Is the unit, the monitor messing up? Is the camera, is there a setting? And then you sit there and before you know it, you start spiraling, and next thing you know, it's a psychological breakdown.
Is the battery. We have to change that.
Yeah,
You get stressed just thinking about it.
Yeah, so we don't want that on weddings. Like basically we tried to eliminate as much of that extra stress at a wedding.
Yeah, I used to bring battery chargers, and then like once I get done with the battery, throw it on the charger, but then I've left battery chargers or I forgot to charge and didn't have enough. And so I just bring enough batteries to more than get me through the day. So I never have to worry about tracking down a power outlet, or then if we're leaving to go
We
to a
bring a
different spot,
charger with us.
we do have one.
Bring one with you.
Yeah, we do have one just as a backup, but
Yeah.
I don't use it. It's just there for emergencies.
Yeah. So these are all just things that, they're really hard work. Like sometimes we're at a wedding for 12 hours. And so we want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up to have the best day possible and to capture the best images, video clips, whatever you want to call it for the couple.
You want all of your creative juices to be able to flow and concentrate on getting the I'm not even gonna say the correct, but the exposure and the composition that you want, and to be able to express yourself as an artist and worry less about, well, my battery's charged. Is this thing working? Is my monitor working? The less you have to worry about your gear, and I'll be honest, for several weddings, I worried so much about my autofocus. I'm like, it says it's focusing, but is it? And so after a few weddings and then now years, I trust my autofocus. In just 100%. I don't have to worry about it.
Well, your hit rate went up though. So so now you get like basically 100% of the couple or the bride.
Yeah, walking down the aisle,
aisle
I get the whole
instead of 50 or whatever, 70, 50 on a bad day.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a lot to remember.
It's a lot to remember. It's a lot to stress. But
It is.
that's why we have you guys here. Hopefully everybody out there watching can learn from this, and you don't want to, especially weddings, you don't want to learn weddings on your own the hard way. Killing one wedding is enough. Yeah, it's like that's like if you screw up the practice shoot with your friend or a test shoot, it's like, okay, whatever. You don't want to screw up somebody's big day. So that's why we're here. Tons of education. You guys are, of course, in for another, what is it, another 8 parts to go?
8 more
7
parts.
Wow.
And you might think like, how are you going to get through 8 more parts? But I probably could have done 15 more. I don't know. There's just so much.
There
There's
is.
so much. So
Hey, we're
Well,
gonna
we're
get
looking forward to it.
yeah, we're gonna get real nerdy about some of these. So you just wait. Wait till the audio one.
Awesome.
Garrett's gonna be carving out frequencies and stuff. It'll be crazy. So
Love it. Well, we're here for the ride along with all of our viewers out there. So we'll thank you guys once again, Amber and Garrett, of course, Sony for hosting this wonderful series, and all of our viewers out there. We do it all for you guys. So stay tuned to the website, and we'll get all those up on there so you guys can see when the next 8 parts are coming, in addition to all of our other recorded live content that you can check out on our YouTube page. Just head over to YouTube at B&H Event Space on there, and you can find all of it along with this mug. So for Amber, Garrett, Sony, and the rest of the Event Space team, that is it. Another edition of the B&H Event Space now in the books. Catch y'all next time.
I'm gonna go play with my lightsabers.